clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
That show made history not only with Sting, but also a little bit later on towards the end of the show when Don Callis was. It's so funny. My wife was sitting there watching with me, and she's like, "This is the second time your guy's executive vice president is there. You sure there's nothing going on?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, the good time. I said, the good thing is, you know, it opens the door down the road, you know, the more he comes, you know. So I was blown away. I had no clue. And that's fun as a fan and also somebody who works at Impact. That's a blast. I have no idea, you know, on Tuesdays, usually I sit down and I kind of know what I'm watching because I was there, but I would live tweet it and talk about it, and the fans get excited certain times. But now I'm just as excited, you know, to sit down. I have no idea what they're doing, nor do I want to know. I know Matt had said that you guys have been bugging Tony for 2 years to do an angle with Impact. What was the scenario that finally convinced him that it was time to pull the plug?
I think it was all Kenny. Like, Kenny convinced Tony that this was the right move, and him and Don had this plan for a while now. So I think those two were the brainchild for the whole thing. So pretty much all of them, and Tony came up with some ideas as well. And man, I'm just happy. Like you said, the surprise element of wrestling, it hasn't really been around in a while. Just because it's like we're in this era where it's almost impossible to keep secrets. So for this to work out the way it has, it's so cool. It gets people talking, and that's what you want in wrestling. You want people to talk about the product, and you want them to want more. So I feel like this is giving that.
Yeah, you were right. I was bugging, and Nick was too. We were both bugging Tony 2 years ago and trying to convince him to let us invade an Impact show and do something. But I think now in retrospect, like, you look back, and I think it was important that AEW established itself first before we were already doing things like that, like jumping over to different shows. Like, it meant more now with our show being on TV for a year and us identifying ourselves, and us having our own image. Now it's more of an Impact, for it, no pun intended again, for us to show up on Impact and to do something, because now it looks like two established different wrestling companies working together. Whereas in the beginning, people didn't quite know what we were still. So I think now the reason it's working so well is because we've been around for a second now. We have our own fan base, and Impact has their own fan base, and it's good for wrestling. Like Nick said, if it brings excitement and people, even us and you, and we're watching and we don't know exactly what is going to happen next, and that's truly good television. The element of surprise. I remember when I was a wrestling fan, I watched shows hoping, like, God, I hope someone shows up. I hope something happens. What are they going to do tonight? That's one of the most important missing pieces of wrestling the last few years, is the element of surprise. And I think that's why people are so hooked on this, and they're excited about this again, because it's something different. Like, who will show up next? What's going to happen? And wrestling needs that.
Absolutely. 1,000%. I agree with you. Without giving anything away, because I would never ask you that, is there a storyline that's written and then you're going to walk away, or is this an open-ended thing that may go, maybe for 6 months or a year? And if you can't say, I understand.
No, it's funny. I don't think there's like a certain amount of time even like planned. I think it's pretty much, let's see how this thing goes.
Yeah,
and
sure.
If it continues to be hot, then why stop it? So
yeah, I think it's pretty loose right now, wouldn't you say?
Right. Yeah. So I don't think there's an end game on it yet. So obviously there's creative that we can't talk about, but we know about that will last a while, but I don't know how long.
So that opens the door potentially to the Young Bucks facing maybe the Good Brothers, Motor City Machine Guns. I'm not sure what the future of the North is, but that would have been interesting. You guys, if you guys could have one match with an Impact tag team, do you have a preference without putting you on the spot?
You just named them right there. Yeah. Those are the matches I want.
Right.
Can we make them happen? I don't know. Hopefully, I think it's a good sign that things are going so well right now between the two companies. It's just, there's these things in wrestling where you have to navigate. You have to navigate the politics of wrestling and timing and storylines. It's like, we obviously definitely are thankful that we have the roles that we have. So we have a little bit of power in this situation. So if we can make matches happen that we want, we're going to try to get it to happen. Yeah, I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to wrestle the Good Brothers. We've never been in a situation where it would ever even have made sense because we were always in the Bullet Club together, you know? So I think that would be fun. And then we haven't wrestled the Motor City Machine Guns on television, on cable television in a decade. And that's one of people point at that as being one of our great rivalries. So
Sure.
I would love to revisit that and give people, maybe a series of matches. I think that would be amazing. I don't know. I guess it depends on if we can work it out. But the fan in me is going, make it happen. And yeah, the North, those guys are awesome. We had a match with them, I want to say it was 7 years ago at this point on the Independence, and we tore it up. So I would love to. Oh, and we wrestled at PWG too. I think a little more recently, maybe 4 years ago.
Yep.
I would love to have a match with them on television. I think that would be fantastic. There's so much stuff right out of the gate. My mind goes wild. So
it's exciting.
Yeah, that's good. That's what wrestling needs. We need excitement.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.